So we'll do our intro, which is this is simple Pilates concepts to create accessibility.
All right, and I am Kellee Forkenbrock. I am the founder of Goddess Grounded LLC. I am also a librarian, a mother, a wife, a sister friend, a sister, a daughter, all those wonderful things. But one thing that I know that I love is two things: movement and accessibility. As a librarian, I understand the need for information to be accessible, and I share that same passion for movement. So I'm so happy to be co-hosting this with Rachel. Rachel is my college friend, and she's also my Pilates mentor. I'm currently going for my Pilates teacher certification through Size Diverse Pilates, which is the perfect segue to introduce Rachel.
Hey, I am Rachel Piper, and I'm also a wife and a mother and all the things. I am the owner of Size Diverse Pilates because I really wanted to put out in the world the idea that it doesn't matter what your size is, you can do Pilates and you can move in your today body. Really, really important for me. I actually work in biotech for my full-time job. And I also teach at the local studio. I teach for onlinepilatesclasses.com. I do my own Size Diverse Pilates thing. And I'm also a size inclusivity and programming coach inside Profitable Pilates Agency. Wow, yes. And my son and I just started Taekwondo on top of it.
She was just telling me about the Taekwondo that she's doing 3 times a week.
Yep.
In addition to everything she just
all
named.
the things.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, let's talk about our passions around autonomy, independence, and choices. I think that's a good, now that you know who we are, let's tell you about our passion a little bit.
Yeah, so I think one of the passions for me about being independent, I've always had an independent free spirit. I've always felt that even in my teens and my 20s, I thought I felt safe in my body. And I think I did, but I think I felt safe under the constraints of what I thought, beauty standards should be. And, in your teens and your 20s, you tend to fall into that. In your 30s, you start waking up, and in your 40s, you start understanding that it's really about being safe and strong in the body. I think about all of the movement phases I've had in my life, from being a cheerleader in college to, doing Taibo in front of my television for people in the 2000s, doing Taibo so I could lose 50 pounds before my wedding, because I was just all about that aesthetic. And then to understanding the changes that your body goes through as a woman, as a biological woman, with childbirth, with perimenopause, which I'm currently in perimenopause. So I enjoy Pilates and almost all movement because it makes me feel safe and strong in my body, which influences autonomy and independence. And the great thing about Pilates, something that I've learned not only as a practitioner, but as someone who is teaching it, and I'm doing my teacher study teaching all summer, is it doesn't have to look the same for every person. Much like Size Diverse Pilates has taught us, is that movement is relevant no matter what body is doing it and no matter what it looks like in that particular body. So the fabulous thing about autonomy is you can feel safe and strong in your body and know that you don't have to look like everyone else. You can just be your own unique self.
And we'll talk about later about the body shapes and how the body moves in general, and that there really is no ideal shape.
Nope.
Anywhere, because we all have not just different bodies, but we've all had different lives, and we've all experienced different things in our lives that will influence how our body moves and the shapes that our body makes. So that's some of those simple concepts. For me, my passion really is that no judgment philosophy. We cannot judge anybody when they walk into a room as a teacher. Now, what we're putting out here today is for Pilates students, but I was telling Kellee, if you're always a student, even if you're a teacher. So even though we're trying to gear this towards simple concepts,
you're a teacher.
Yeah, then when you come into something that's meant for students, you should be learning while you're in the room. And we all have so much to learn as teachers. So not judging anyone by their abilities, their shape, their size, their age, their neurodiversity potential, like any of that. And just the idea that today your today body is perfect the way it is. You can find movement, somehow to move in your body, no matter what day it is. And really, my story comes from before I started Pilates. I thought I had let myself go so much. It would take me so long to be able to do anything worthwhile. And it sounds ridiculous when I say it now, but I really thought like, gosh, everything is so hard. Everything hurts. I don't know how I'm going to be able to show up at a class and be able to do anything. And to be honest, if I hadn't walked into the studio that I walked into, I probably wouldn't be standing here today, being able to do the things that I can do and say that I do Taekwondo on top of everything for 3 hours a week now. So you have to start somewhere. And these simple concepts will help get you started and get you feeling better in the movement in your body. Okay? All right. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to start talking about 3 very necessary components for movement, and that is body shapes, body moves, and body points. And the fantastic thing is that all 3 of these exist in all of our bodies, but as we've said before, it's not going to look the same. So Rachel and I are going to kind of tag team and show you what each of those 3 components looks like in each of our bodies, so that you can see that even though we are both Pilates teachers and we're good friends, we are going to show up in that movement differently. So we'll start with body shapes. And Rachel's going to show us first tall spine. Now, what I like to tell my students about tall spine is whenever we're doing an exercise for Pilates folks out there who know their spine stretch, their spine twist, I always tell them to imagine a wall behind their back. And think about when you're up against the wall, if you're sitting near a wall, not every point of your back is going to hit that wall. And that's what tall spine is all about. It's not about rimrod, ribs out, chest up, and it's not about curving. It's really just about that natural tall spine, almost like a marionette string is coming up right here. Now,
Same tall spine.
same tall spine.
It doesn't matter if you're standing, if you're seated, or if you're kneeling.
Tall spine. So let's talk about flexion. All right, let's demonstrate some flexion here. So flexion is bringing the body forward. Now, coming down into a toe reach.
Yep. So it's a curl forward.
Yes.
That's it.
So that's all flexion is. The opposite would be your extension. You're leaning back. So back bends for my yogis, if there's any yogis in the building. You know that well, several back bends in Pilates as well.
Like a little.
A camel. There we go. Shout out to my yogi. A camel.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we're going to talk about lateral flexion. Finding that center line and leaning from there. One thing about lateral flexion, and I have to remember this when I'm teaching as well, is we almost want kind of that beach ball feel underneath the ribs. So we don't want to crunch into our side. You're going to pay for that later, I promise you. As someone who has QL issues, you're going to pay for that in that oblique. What you want to do is round over into that, creating a lift.
Yeah, we like to call it the longest flexion you can make, the longest extension you can make, the longest side bend you can make.
Yeah, we're going for that length. We're going for that shape in our body. And again, that's going to look different in everybody. And the last one is rotation. Out of the way while we do rotation. Yeah. And the great thing about rotation is no matter where your hands are, if they're up, if they're to the side, that will determine what that rotation looks like.
You can also do rotation again for some yogis, because I also teach yin, I forgot to mention that. Is this right here is also a rotation. So our sideline twist is also rotation in the lumbar spine up into the thoracic.
All right, so those are body shapes. Now, Rachel, tell us a bit about body moves.
Right, so we kind of demonstrated the movements for you. So when we're talking about Pilates or in general, yoga, any movement practice where you might be holding a shape or you need to get into a shape and then do something, those are the shapes we're looking at. So that longest flexion, your tallest spine, longest extension, and all of that. So then we talk about like, how do we move into that? And Kellee did a really great job about talking about the lateral flexion, but we'll go back to flexion itself first. It's your longest curl forward. So if we have Kellee, if I have Kellee lie on the mat, on her back, if she's going into flexion, it might look like just an upper ab curl. Right, so she might just go into a little bit of an upper ab curl and she might hold there. Now this is a flexion shape. She may also take her legs straight and continue up into her roll up, which would continue through flexion. So she started flat, then she came up and forward. So that is flexion. She's actually coming out of flexion as she comes backwards to her tall spine, because your tall spine can also be while you're lying down. So that is our flexion there. You're curling forward. Then I'll have Kellee flip over to her belly for extension. Swan, cobra are great examples of this. A lot of times we think, and when we're talking about the body shapes, we're actually talking about the torso, because we know that the head, like the neck itself, can go into flexion and extension. So we try and watch that a little bit. So see, Kellee's here in a very long extension. It's about bringing your heart forward and up. I always like to tell people like, oh man, reach your heart to the ceiling. Be proud in the body you have today. That's our extension. And then it can be in any form. So Kellee, maybe just put your hands underneath your forehead. And then keep your forehead to your hands and just lift into a little extension now. Reach your head away and come up. This is also extension. You see the difference between there? Depending on the exercise, the amount of extension you do is going to be different. You can come out of that. Kellee has like one of the best extensions.
Is that why? That's why I got signed up for this.
Like, I know. She's like, I want to move. I want to move. Okay. Then we'll talk about side bending, which is lateral flexion. If you like the term lateral flexion, you can use it. We're like, what the heck is that? Side bending. So even if Kellee just sits here, maybe puts her hands back behind her head. Here's how I like to think about it. Kellee's visual of having the ball here is like an amazing visual. But what's going on in the body is that Kellee has her hip point and then she has her bottom rib. What Kellee's trying to do is she's trying to be as tall as possible, because we start in our tall spine. And then she's going to try and keep the area between the top of her hip and her bottom rib as she goes up and over. So as you can see, if I put a ball here, that's exactly what she's doing. It's the same concept. So either of those in your mind, whatever one fits, totally works. You're tall, then you come up and over. As you come up and over, you're trying to keep space on the side that you're side bending toward, as well as stretching out your opposite side. And that's what Kellee explained about the collapse. Kellee, if you just want to collapse on one side.
Sure.
So you can kind of see it. I'm kind of doing the same thing. And once you get used to being tall, it's hard to collapse, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then come back up. Okay, and then from here, we're going to do rotation. So I showed the sideline rotation that's in your lower spine here. Our spine twist is a great example. Kellee's going to stay as tall as she can be here. And then it's really about taking the heart to the left or the right. Just a little twist, then come back and twist to the other side. The hips stay heavy here because we're trying to get as much rotation through the spine as possible. Now, in order to sometimes hit that lower thoracic into the lumbar area, sometimes it's a little bit easier to do something like a spinal twist in yoga to kind of get that movement. So those are our 4 movements. Oh, wow. So we have 5 body shapes and we have 4 movements. of the torso.
All right, so now we're moving on to body points. So the purpose of the body points is to point out specific parts of your body where you can touch base with yourself. When you think about yourself in movement, think about yourself in any movement, aerobics, running, yoga, any kind of movement that you've participated in lately. You kind of know if you feel a twinge in the neck or if you feel a twinge in the leg. That is a moment where you start to check in with yourself. Am I doing this movement correctly? Am I overextending myself in this movement? You start kind of questioning whether or not the movement is working out for you. Well, body points kind of serve the same purpose, but instead of judgment, because we are judgment free,
Right.
it just gives us a place to see if there's an area for improvement. Where is there a place where I can improve movement? So there are several body points. We'll start with the neck and the head. This is very, the neck in particular, when we do like the 100, this is something I work on not only on myself, but also with my students. So I'm gonna have Rachel lay down and prepare as she would for her 100. And we want to make sure that we are leading from the sternum, not the neck. So give us a little example of what it looks like to lead from the neck.
Oh, from the neck? Okay.
Yes. So you see this crunch feeling here. There's going to be, if she had continued that movement, it would continue to crunch down on her, creating pain and stress and tension. So we want to make sure that instead of using our neck or the weight of our head to pull us into 100, we want to use that sternum. Let's see this with the sternum being led. Healthy lift right here. There's space. And the 100 feels better on the body because the tension is not in the neck. And then again, there's some good variations. We'll talk more about variations later today, but that's another way to give yourself that comfort in your head or neck, making sure that you are not putting that weight on those very sensitive parts of your body. Another sensitive part of the body is the spine. So we talked about tall spine and making sure that we're careful with our spine. What exercise could we do for the spine?
Kind of the same one, to be honest,
Yeah.
right? Like if we're leading from
Yeah.
the sternum, we could also talk about the 100. We didn't write these down or anything like that. It's totally fine. You will see it when we do props and things like that. But
Yeah.
for the 100, being able to prop the spine a little bit can also take some pressure off of the neck. When you're learning the 100 in general, I think putting something back behind and being, here is nice. It's a nice way to prop the spine for it. And if this is even too much, we can just variate on the arm itself to kind of help the spine get into the shape that we're trying to make, but not using props to jam ourselves into those shapes.
Exactly. Next one, we'll talk about our pelvis and hips. I'm gonna have you go back down again. We're gonna do some shoulder bridges. Now, for those of you who are familiar with movement, including and outside of Pilates, you've probably done your fair share of shoulder bridges. The specific part of the shoulder bridge that we thought to focus on when it comes to Pilates is going to be your pelvis area. Great way to find your pelvis is to put your hands, the palm of your hands right on your hip bones. You create that kind of open triangle. That is your pelvis. And that is the part of your pelvis, that is the part of your body that is going to be sensitive to the movement in the lower body. I often tell my students, hips and butt are not invited to the party when we do pelvic movement. And you won't be able to see it very clearly with us on here, but I'm gonna have Rachel put her hands on her hip points to work on her pelvis. And we're going to inhale with a tilting the pelvis forward. And then exhale, tucking and lifting into the shoulder bridge.
Oh, you want me to go into shoulder bridge?
Yes, there we go. And then we inhale and lower to tilt again forward. And again, we're tilting just that area we've pointed out. And exhale to tuck and lift into shoulder bridge. And then lower. So being aware of the difference between your pelvis and your hips and how they are interconnected together is very important, a good basic body point.
Yeah, and a lot of times we put the spine and the pelvis together as like, how can we support that? And a great way to support the spine and the pelvis at the same time can be placing something underneath the hips, which you will see later on, whether you're sitting on top of it or placing it underneath to help you create a little bit more space in your low back. And that's because different bodies are different shapes. And in order to find some of those connections, we just need to find ways to support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, next is hands and arms. Really that wrist placement and making sure we're not putting too much pressure on the wrist. This is something I have to remind myself of, not only as a Pilates teacher, but also as a yogi. It's that tendency to put the pressure on arms. Let's go ahead and get into a quadruped position. First thing we want to make sure is we're aligning shoulders over wrists right here. So we want to make sure we're having a straight line here, soft bend in the elbows, just so we're not hyperextending. And that's where we get that alignment here. This is a point where I like to do for my warm up with my students is a shoulder protraction and retraction. So we'll do that here. We inhale as we push up, spreading those shoulder blades, and then exhale, bringing the shoulder blades together as you come down. Again, all of this movement, as you can see from Rachel, is happening in the shoulder girdle. She's doing a great hold of her lower belly to support the lower back, and she's maintaining proper alignment between the shoulders and hands. And that also helps her not to put so much of her weight into her wrists.
If you heard that, I like to, every single time I go into this position, I like to crack my ankles and my knees. So if you heard that, I like to crack.
Which brings us to feet legs. The final body point. Now for legs, we could. I'm trying to think. The only legs I can think of right now.
I would say like how close they are and how far away. That'll be a great transition into the next thing that we're going to talk about.
Yes. All right. So let's find that center line. Go ahead and lay down on your back. Then go ahead and tabletop those legs. All right, one great example of legs being losing that center point of gravity would be the double leg stretch. So we'll go ahead and prepare for that. Inhale and bringing the legs into the center line, and then we exhale, and that takes the load off center. Your legs coming back in with the inhale and exhale, having the load away from center. Legs and where you're placing your legs, what your range of motion looks like. It can be up like this to start, and it can be mid. We go down to maybe 45 degrees with this next one. There, perfect. Yes. All right, looks up. Good.
Okay. Yeah, and a lot of things happen there. So for me, when I was in, we'll call it the tall spine, because we just talked about it, when my head was down and Kellee asked me to go out to 45, I had to work to stabilize a little bit. And, you know, my back came up a little bit, so I had to pull it back. That's a way that we can assess ourselves and think, okay, either I'm gonna have to take my legs up a little bit higher to pull my waistband back, or I might need a little something under my hips to help me maintain that length in the low back. Okay, hopefully this is all making sense.
Yes.
Now, the next part that I'm gonna walk through, Kellee knows I can talk about this for an hour straight. So I'm gonna give you very brief points because it's what we would like to do for our next free workshop. And it is 3 ways to support or challenge any exercise. There are 3 main ways that I like to think about it. And the first one is points of contact to the mat. How much of you is touching the mat during any given movement? Now, theoretically, and in a lot of cases, the less of you on the mat typically means that it's a more challenging exercise. And the more you can get yourself on the mat, the more supportive it can be. And this is where we can create those points meaning bringing props in to help close the gap between ourselves and either a piece of equipment or the mat itself. Okay, so for that one, I'm just gonna show Kellee really quick. So Kellee, when you do the 100, can you do it with your feet down, legs in tuck position? So right now, I'm gonna have Kellee keep her head down for the 100. She's gonna bring her arms up, nice big inhale. On her exhale, head's gonna stay down and she's gonna stay here. She's gonna pump her arms. She's still working here. There's a lot of Kellee on the mat right now. If I ask Kellee to add her upper ab curl to this, there's less of her on the mat. She has to work harder to be in this position. Now, if I ask Kellee to bring her legs to whatever position she'd like to do, less of her's on the mat. It's harder for her center to work. Okay, so that's an example of how we start to take things away. And that's why the 100 gets more challenging as we go along. But there's still work to be had in every single version of every exercise, every movement. The next one is load away from center. And when Kellee had me do double leg stretch, it's a great example of that. So go ahead and come back to that position. Plus then you get to see what Kellee looks like doing it too. Always good to see exercises on different bodies. So pull the legs in, come up in your upper ab curl. She's gonna take herself out as long as possible. Inhale to support, and then exhale to pull back in. One more, she can go however far she wants, right? Load away from center. She's taking her legs away from her, her arms are away from her. This has to work. The only thing that would be more difficult is if Kellee took her head down. So let's have you take your head all the way down. I want you to look right here, okay? Kellee, keep your head down and try and do your double leg stretch and reach your legs low. Okay, it's not gonna be very supportive. Okay, she comes up a little tiny bit, she's pretty darn solid and she brings it back in. Okay, one more just like that. She knows what I'm doing, so she's really having to focus and then come back in. Okay, and then you can totally rest. So the ribs and the low back may come up a little bit. That's because we have lengthened Kellee's muscles here.
And I could feel it, like
Yeah.
because I have what I call a spicy lower back. So I felt when I knew my range of motion from practice that, okay, this is as good as I can go. But I felt that center of gravity change.
Pelvis starts to come up a little bit. When the pelvis starts to come up a little bit, it's because we've lengthened our center. So we don't have as much access to all of the muscles here when we're in a taller spine. When you curl forward, all of a sudden, all these muscles start to come to the party. You can help stabilize yourself, which means that you can take your arms and your legs a little farther away from you than you could otherwise. The last one that I have, it's a concept of opening your kinetic chain and closing your kinetic chain. And this one is really about, like, if Kellee's all together, just like this, she can pull like everything she's got all the way from her feet, all the way up through her pelvic diaphragm, all the way up. Okay, I can ask her to do any exercise here. If she's on the ground and she wants to do the 100, even if we're standing, we can use all of our leg muscles all the way up and through. If I ask Kellee to open up her legs and try and do the same movement, she has to try and figure out how to stabilize in her center without using her legs together.
Yeah,
So
I feel like my arms are matching my legs. I can't bring them in as closely as I want because I'm mirroring what's going on in my lower body.
Now, when you bring that together, you're one, you're strong.
There's almost just that center line of just power right there.
Yeah, and we can use props to help close a kinetic chain. We can also use props to open it up and challenge, but this is going to be more about the supportive version of things. Okay.
Awesome. So just another quick summary and some takeaways about what we just discussed. The simple concepts of movement that can bring more accessibility to your movement are your body shapes, your body moves, and your body points. And when you're using these in a fashion where you're trying to learn more about your body versus trying to perfect an exercise, this is where your autonomy comes in, because you begin to understand through your body shapes, where is your tall spine? What does that tall spine feel like in your body? What does the flexion curling forward feel like in my body? And when I curl forward, am I feeling something in my neck? Am I feeling something in my pelvis or hips that I need to correct or self-correct there? So with the knowledge of what the body shape looks like in your body, how it feels in movement, and where you need to self and auto correct, that is where your independence comes in. And then you have choice. And that's really what accessibility is all about: autonomy, independence, and choice.
Yes. And with choice means that you get to choose your own journey.
Yes.
It means that you
Look
get
at
to
these
decide
segues.
today. Yeah, you get to decide every day that you move what you're going to do. Whether you decide to support yourself a little bit, work towards a challenge, it's going to be up to you. Okay, so now we're gonna move into movement and prop time. We could have gone on for hours with props, so we decided to take some that we thought everybody would have around. Kelly's just switching that out. So the props we figured everyone would have is a blanket. So this is a yoga blanket, it doesn't have to be a yoga blanket. One of my favorite props is actually a quilt. And then a braided towel, but you can also take a child's beach towel and roll it up. It's almost the same exact diameter once you do that. And then resistance bands. Now, we love our 2-8 resistance bands. We're not affiliates, we just love them because they have loops. There are some different sizes here.
This is my favorite. I have one of these at home. I love it.
I know, I think all the trainees have them. And then, but you can use any resistance band that you want to. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, we've talked about why props are important. Let's talk about why variations are important. And again, this comes all the way back to the extreme value of independence. Really empowering yourself to take a movement and flip it upside down, look at it, and see if you can find your own connection to the movement. That's where that accessibility piece comes in. And that's why there are so many different variations. So the movements we're going to show you today, both with and without props, we will also show you variations of those same movements so that you can allow more accessibility and freedom in your body and in the bodies of those whom you teach.
Yep. I mean, I can do most of the Pilates things, but I choose not to do all the Pilates things based on how I'm feeling. And I want everyone to feel that they have that same autonomy over their body.
Absolutely.
In a world where we don't have a lot of choice, heck yeah, when I move and I'm gonna pick what I wanna do. Okay?
Exactly.
You're gonna teach me that.
All right, fabulous. All right, we're gonna start with
No props.
no props.
No props.
So we're going to move these out of the way. I'm gonna have Rachel go in prone position on her belly. We're gonna talk about swimming. All right, so swimming. But we're going to show you the Pilates version of swimming. So Rachel is in prone position, stretched out in what I like to call kind of a narrow X. And we're going to begin just side to side first. So we will inhale, lift left arm, right leg, left arm, right leg.
I don't know what I'm doing.
There we go. Left arm, right leg. So we start with this. We start with the inhale to lift one side and the inhale to lift alternate sides, right? So we just start with the exhale down, inhale up one more time on each side. Right arm, left leg, and then left arm, right leg. Now we inhale here at the bottom and exhale all 4 points up and begin our swimming here. Now we start here. This is the swimming exercise. This is what that looks like. No props needed. And we rest down. Let's go into our quadruped variation. So here we are entering a variation of the same exercise, which provides more accessibility and more support for the body. So again, we start sides, alternate sides. We find our balance here. Left arm extended, right leg. And exhale, back down. Then we switch sides. Inhale, right arm, left leg up. And exhale, back down. Right? And that is the alternate and variation that you can do for swimming. So maybe you start there, you begin your accessibility with the exercise there, go into your prone position with alternate arms and legs, and then into the full extension of the exercise.
Yeah, you can really play with it. You're just trying to make that shape.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's go back to cat-cow. We're gonna go back to our quadruped here. And this is where we look at our flexion and extension. So we'll start with our flexion into cat, inhale, raising. I'm gonna step off to the side, you can see it. And exhale, cow with the extension. This is a very simple way using 0 props to define flexion and extension in your body. Now, staying in the same position, we can go into our tall spine and what that looks like with the arm leg balance. So very similar to what we did with the swimming quadruped. We will inhale, left arm, right leg up, and come squeeze in the center. Yeah. And then we'll have right arm, left leg up, and back down. Again, keeping that neutral spine where we're not curving, we're not slouching, just a neutral spine.
Yeah.
And then,
And honestly, like, this is great for swimming, but this is your way to build into your planks and your push-ups and things like that. So don't take this one for granted. You can get a lot of different body movements in this one while you're starting to get strength in your upper body and your upper back. Okay.
all right. So next we're doing side to side. Okay, yes.
Because we can get a little side bend.
Yes.
Honestly, we should add in thread the needle too.
Oh, yes. All right, let's go ahead in our quadruped position.
So basically you can do
Because you can
all
do
of the body, like all the body shapes and all the movements here.
in this quadruped. So we start here, center, inhale, and then exhale, turning both your head to the right and lifting that right hip to there. And then to the left hip, just giving a quick look behind.
Can people see this? Can you see that or not?
Maybe yeah.
I can do it this way.
Yeah, do it that way.
It'll be a little, okay. Yeah, we're good here. Okay.
Right. Point to the left. So you'll see Rachel is turning slightly to the right and the right hip is meeting. And you'll just see it right in the peripheral. Good oblique stretch.
And then little thread the needle.
And then some thread the needle, go ahead and thread that right arm underneath the left, giving good rotation. Back, and then the other side, left arm under the right. And just in that quadruped position, we have completed 1, 2, 4, 5, or 4 body.
All 5 body shapes and
Yeah.
all 4 body movements. And
Yep.
so anytime I'm moving or creating a class, I want to make sure that we hit at least each of the ways the body moves twice.
Yeah.
Throughout. So,
All
yeah.
right, yeah,
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready for the braided towel.
Okay, braided towel, let's do it. Okay, so one of the reasons we use props, main reason is we get tactile feedback. And without a teacher present, we want to continue to practice in our own bodies when people aren't watching, right? So how do we know if we need to do something? Not everyone has intuition in their body to be able to like know exactly what's happening. So the props are such great tactile feedback for you that I highly, highly recommend them when you're practicing alone. So you can kind of self-assess. Okay, so towel. Okay, there's a couple different things. So braided towel or towel, I actually have the blanket as our towel. So let's just talk about what might feel good while we're lying in tall spine. So Kellee, go ahead and just like completely flat and tall spine. If you come down and you've been working at a computer all day and you want to do your workout and you feel like your head is tipping back, even when you're lying flat, just put a little something underneath the head. This is a way that we can adjust our head and neck to improve movement. So it doesn't have to be a big amount. You can just grab a little something, a couple pads, just to feel nice.
It does. It's a subtle change,
Mhm.
but it's very beneficial.
Super, super subtle. Okay, so now that she's here, she can do any exercise that she wants from tall spine. Maybe it's single leg circle, maybe it's something else. But whenever you're lying down, you feel like you need a little support, maybe your muscles in the front of your neck are pulling a little bit, this can help you out, okay? And then as you move, hopefully things warm up and then you might not need it towards the end. So here's your braided towel. Let's put that back behind your head. You have this little bump. Some people have a more prominent bump than others. I have like a little mini bump. This is your occipital bump. This is where we want to put the towel right underneath to catch that, to help lengthen our neck out a little bit. Okay, so Kellee can just lengthen the neck out, but she can also use it as support to create that space and come up into her upper ab curl. And then she can come back down. This just supports the head a little bit. Now, why might we need to put some support back there? Maybe you have some tightness in your shoulders or in the breast area after surgery, any type of surgery. And when you bring your arms back behind your head, you feel too much tightness, maybe in your armpits, your back, maybe you feel it in your neck. When you add a support like the braided towel back behind your head, it opens you up a little bit so that you can breathe a little bit better, you can get the length, and you still get to do that movement. It frees up your upper ab curl when you allow yourself some space. Okay,
All right.
now we're gonna do crisscross
Oh boy.
because that's rotation. So bring your legs in. She's gonna use this for her crisscross. The idea for our crisscross, which is the last one in our ab series, is to try and get your armpit over towards your knee, not your elbow. A lot of times when people try and do the elbow, you pull your neck down. Having the towel allows you some space so that maybe you're less likely to do that and you can focus more on your pity.
All right.
So I call it with my kiddo. This is your pity. Okay, you got stinky pitties, go take a shower. So come on up into your upper ab curl. She gets to twist and she's gonna think armpit. So maybe even open the arms a little bit more and then turn the other way, bring one leg in and twist. Nice and heavy in the hips here as she twists and twists. Okay. And then you can come back and lie down because you know we're not going to do the whole 5. And how did that feel? Just having a little extra space to be able to
You know,
twist.
it made me realize full confession, I do not have a braided towel in my personal Pilates arsenal library, but now it's really convinced me that I need one. I've used a resistance band to do this before, but I need to do it more often.
Yeah.
Not only for these exercises for support, but also for the back of the neck stretch, which is essential if you work a desk job. For sure.
Yes, for sure. And yes, you can actually substitute the resistance band for this. Sometimes the resistance band, it's stronger, so it's a little bit more stable, whereas your resistance band has a little more give and take, which you need for certain exercises, and the towel is a little more finite. Okay, the other thing about using a prop like this, Kellee, can you just face the back wall here?
Sure.
Is that openness. So I'm just going to show you Kellee's back here. So Kellee, go ahead and take your hands back behind your head. Yeah, just like you did here, okay? Kellee's actually really, really open here. But if we just took this and put this back behind her head and she opened up a little bit, she got a lot wider. And this is great for exercises like neck pull and again, crisscross and some of the other exercises where if you're feeling very tight here and you're feeling things in your neck, open yourself up because even though she's holding this, she still has to hold her arms up, which means that when we are using our arms in this fashion, we're still building strength back here, which is really, really important. The more you can build strength right across here and in your chest, the better it'll be in the long run. It gives you a really good support for your whole core, because your core isn't just your abs, it's your full back all the way up. It's all of this, okay?
Alright.
So we'll go ahead and take that back without a strap right now. Straps are absolutely fabulous. They help you access more muscles. If you don't have a strap, place a magic circle around your feet if you have that, or maybe even a circle band to help you access more leg muscle. So we saw what Kellee looked like here, very tight. If you're tight in neck pull, you may go into extension. If you go into extension for your neck pull, you have to go completely from one body shape to the other body shape. That makes it extremely difficult. You need to go from a tall spine into flexion for neck pull. If you put your arms behind your head and your ribs lift up a little bit more, see if you can grab a towel to get you strong in your upper back and to get you into a tall spine. So it's a little easier for you to be able to curl up. So let's just see what Kellee has going on today, right? It's her today body. And over, stack back up. And then as you go down, I want you to lead with your low back. Come all the way back and keep your neck up, like tall, tall head. Yeah, so for neck pull, and this happens a lot when we're used to being like this, we want to reach out of the top of our head when we come up and over. Remember, we're trying to make the longest flexion. So if you feel your chin going down, that might be a sign that you need something in your arms to open you up a little bit so you can create more space. The more space you have in your back, the easier it'll be for you to get off the mat. So think about lifting through the top of your head as you come up and over. There you go. Yeah. See that nice flexion? We're gonna have her do one more because I was right behind her, so you couldn't see how awesome that was.
Okay.
She's like, great, fabulous. This is our relationship. And then stack it back up. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's talk about the, actually now you get to have me use the towel for the pelvis.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Oh, she's excited about it.
All right, so we're gonna use
And let
the
me check
towel,
time.
not bread.
We have 5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes, okay. Let's go ahead and get
We might go
started.
through the Q&A a little bit, but.
All right, so I'll have Rachel go down. We're going to use this underneath the back. We're gonna put it right into here.
So the higher it is, the more you're gonna be able to access your muscles, okay? So I'm just gonna make it, it's a little lopsided, but that's all right. So I'm gonna come up and over. There.
There we go. So you can see right here, you can see the lift, the difference in the lift that this is creating, giving Rachel more accessibility to her her hips here. So now we're going to do double leg stretch. We inhale here and out. Inhale back. Exhale back. Inhale out. And as you can see, this is giving her, even though we are going, we're going left of center, we're still bringing that power back in because of the lift from the towel. Now let's look at single straight leg stretch, our scissors. So again, creating good lift as Rachel goes into the movement. And again, and you can even tell the difference in how it looks without the towel. I'm gonna have you stop right here and I'm going to remove the towel and have you do single straight leg stretch. There you go, without the towel. So you can see, right, the difference. She's working a little harder to get those legs to her. This lift provides more accessibility for that. And now we will do this with the lift
You
here.
wanna see it without?
Oh yeah, let's see it without.
This is actually
double
one of my
straight leg
favorites.
stretch. And one more time without. So loading away from center is creating more work there.
Yeah.
Now we're going to do that with the towel underneath.
It's like fire.
Yes. And let's do 2 with the towel.
So for this one, when my hips are up, I do like to put my hands back behind my head, but
Oh,
I'm
yes,
thinking
that's
about
right.
lengthening my neck a little bit when I do this one, but you can play around with it yourself.
So that small adjustment, adding the towel, placing the hand between the neck to create more length in the neck during the movement is important too. Awesome. All right. So
Then sit.
sitting on. All right. Let's go ahead and do, let's just do, we haven't done a saw yet and that has
Yeah,
rotation.
yeah.
So we'll sit on here with, and this is, again, you may find other things that may be helpful to sit on.
Yeah, so let me show you what it looks like and why you might wanna sit on something.
Yeah.
It's to help you be in a tall spine. So I'm actually a really good example of this, because it's hard for me to sit like super tall. I actually have to use my legs a lot to be able to pull myself forward, but this is where I actually wanna be. Yep.
And then with the towel, look at the difference. Much straighter lines here.
And it's a lot. I don't wanna say it's easier, but it's more comfortable.
Yes.
Right? And when things are comfortable, we're more likely to do them.
Exactly.
We're more likely to move if it feels good.
And when we add rotation to the tall spine while sitting, that's both coming in. So we're gonna inhale with saw here, inhale and exhale, twist. Again, it's looking at the towel, giving Rachel much more accessibility in her twist as well, in the seat as well as in the twist. And one more time to even you out. Very good.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Now we're gonna do our resistance band.
Yes.
All right. Do you want the red one?
Yeah.
You're like, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Roll up. It says roll up.
Yes.
All right. We're gonna place the resistance band around the bottoms of the feet for roll up. Here's what I love about using the resistance band for a roll up. You can add some arm strength to this. Arm strength meaning that your arms come into your shoulders and we're again trying to strengthen that upper back, okay? So as Kellee goes back, she gets this nice support. I want you, Kellee, as you come up to take your arms out to the sides, just a little opening to come up and over, then you can continue to pull out to the side a little bit. See if you can access some of these muscles for strength. Then as you go back, bring the arms in, leading with the pelvis down. Yeah. And as you come up, think that your head's coming up and over, a little space in the chin, bring the arms out. Yeah, up and over. So even here, you can pause yourself and you can do little press backs if you want to. Yeah, trying to engage the muscles back here. I can feel them. Ooh, that's nice.
Right.
Okay, so you can play around. The resistance band can help give you strength to come up, but then you can add some strength work to it to build you into some other exercises. If you have a wall, I highly recommend you put your feet firmly against a wall. It will give you a whole lot of feedback. The roll up key is using your butt and your legs. It is the key to doing it, okay? But the resistance band helps us. We had the resistance band around our legs, which means that there's some tactile resistance against the bottom of the feet, which means our butt and our legs are like, what's happening?
And I'm feeling a close of the kinetic chain as well. So I'm feeling more contained in the movement than if I didn't have a resistance band. So if I come up, and then I'll show without the resistance band. Without the resistance band, coming up. My arms are a bit wider, I'm almost floating right here. That resistance band gives me more support to curve over and stay grounded in my body.
Yeah, because she's connected from her feet all the way up through her arms. So she's got a full connection going on there. I'm gonna have you say for the leg stretches and single leg stretch, since you're already here. Single leg circle. You can add leg stretches. Leg stretches are great in yin yoga as well, but using this band, specifically this band too, can help you, like you can bring the leg in, hold it for whatever count you need to, just to really get a nice stretch in the back of the body and the hamstring. The next leg stretch is taking the leg out to the side, and you can stretch there. Why we want to do this, even if it's painful on your inner thigh, just go to the point where you start to feel something and work into it. The inner thighs are a really good key for you to be able to have hip mobility as you get older. A lot of us start to externally rotate when we walk because it's too hard. There's like too much resistance to put our toes together for internal rotation. And that's because we're tight in the inner thighs in a lot of cases. So this stretch helps with that. Then you can take over for the third leg stretch all the way across. If you want to take yourself into a little rotation on this one, you can, like that sideline twist. The other thing you can do here, if you really want to get a stretch in your bum, is you can bend the knee a little bit and kind of pull that towards you a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of like a swan or a pigeon, depending, or a figure 4 stretch. You get to kind of pull it in. So that way you get to stretch the whole thing out. Then we can use it for single leg circle. Yeah, for time constraints.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So she gets that support. And even if she needed a little pillow underneath, that's great too. It's just that full connection. Kellee could probably even resist against the band and come down a little farther and then come a little slower on the way up. Right, so she gets to play with her movement, and that's why it's good to have a teacher every once in a while around you too. It's like, okay, let's see if you can stretch it out, build that strength, be strong in your core to pull the leg back up.
Hey.
Cool, okay, so we got 2 more things we want to show you with the resistance band, and then we're gonna have a little chat.
All right, so, oh, yes,
Do that one.
that's you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
I'll
go.
do it this way. Actually, and I'll use this one.
Use that one for the swan.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so we're gonna do a seated swan. And we're gonna have the band behind the back. Okay. Right? And we see with the inhale, she's extending up. Back. So this is a great variation of the swan. We did this previously where we were in the prone position. This is the seated version of the swan. Again, good accessibility, good for those who may be experiencing some lower back discomfort. This is a great alternative and variation to that with the use of the resistance band, inhaling with that extension, opening up the heart space, and then coming back into that tall spine. All right?
Let me see how awkward this is.
And then we're doing the lying wide arms. All right, so same thing with this version of the swan. We're going to inhale up, coming into, for my yogis, almost looking like a lotus pose here, and coming back down with the exhale.
A little closer.
And we'll inhale up. And exhale down again, leading with that sternum as we, not the neck. We do want to have a good alignment in the neck, but it really is about bringing that heart space forward. And the resistance band can help you in that quest, and also closes that kinetic chain back.
Yeah, I always think like when we're doing that one, your head's reaching away from you, and I'm actually hypermobile specifically in my neck. So I lift my sternum and I actually keep my chin tucked a little bit. So if you're feeling things in your neck on that particular exercise, think about doing a chin tuck and opening your heart up. Open your heart up to the world.
I call that the excuse me pose, like excuse me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes, actually, that's so you've done that. I don't know how many times I've ever
I do that in my daily life almost hourly. Yes, yes, yes. All right, next up, we're gonna do some side bends with the resistance band. We inhale here. And then exhale again, remembering that ball that should go right here in the obliques. And exhale back up, inhale over. And exhale up. The great thing about the resistance band here is you're adding arm strength here. You're closing that kinetic chain, adding arm strength while working on that oblique strength as you curve over. So really, again, safe and strong in body.
Yeah, you can also do a rotation here. very slight,
Yep.
but I'm pulling out on that resistance band.
And that's adding that good arm strength.
And then we've done all those movements. Now, this feels slightly uncomfortable. If you feel like this is shifting, placing a ball right between the legs so that you have a tactile connection here is great for those seated exercises as well. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna give you our little embrace where you are now. Little spiel, then we're gonna go into our Q&A.
Ready, all right.
All right. Okay, so this is our little spiel right here. How to get in touch with a positive movement experience, whether it's Pilates or not. But if we're talking about Pilates, I want you all to know that it's not about being better at Pilates.
Yeah, I agree. It's
Period.
Exactly. It's not about being better at Pilates. This workshop wasn't about how to be better at specific Pilates movements. It's not about being better, it's just about being. It's just about being safe in your own body, understanding when you need to rest and understanding when you're ready for a challenge. These are both things that as you continue to get to know yourself in movement, you will become closer to those ideals and those goals for yourself. Just making sure that it is a unique experience for you and your body, no matter what your body's bringing to the table that day.
So focus on embracing your wonderful self today, every day. Know that you're not alone in your movement journey. Other people are out there and they are trying variations. They're trying to figure out ways to improve their own movement. So you're not alone. Ask questions. Find somebody who understands this material and understands that there is no ideal shape. There's no one ideal shape. There's no one ideal body out there. And also we're doing this because we believe that everyone deserves knowledge and the ability to choose their own movement journey.
That's right. And in the name of knowledge, we're going to be having our next free workshop, which will be more in depth about the 3 ways to support and challenge yourself in any workout. So we touched on that a bit today when we talked about closing the kinetic chain, moving your load towards center, and
points of
contact on the mat. Yes. So we're going to be aiming for a fall workshop. So we'll have another free experience here. So excited, and we're moving into Q&A.
Yeah, just a reminder. We just want to say, thank you so much for coming.
Yes.
30 people signed up. A lot of people couldn't make it here live, so we are sending out the recording. I'm gonna just juice it up a little bit, a little here are some videos that will support this if you want to try them on your own. Hoping within the next 3 days to get that out to everyone. Probably end up having it just on YouTube, and our next workshop also free. There's nothing that we're asking you to do from us. We're just trying to get more knowledge out into the world about movement practices. So yeah, let's Q&A. You want me to bring it? You can ask any questions you want.
Hi, everyone.
Feel free to unmute.
We both in the chat wanted to know more about those bands.
Oh, the
where can we find
bands?
them? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me find the chat.
Here it is.
Yeah. I was on participants. Okay. So they are 2 8 bands. You can find them on Amazon, and you can also get them on their own site. This is great. This is a Black-owned company that I love supporting. They are fantastic. They have some great tips out there. And there are 2, so the green and the red, they're a couple colors out there, but ultimately there are 2 lengths and 2 weights. The green is the lighter weight, and it's a little bit shorter. So for me, it's oh man, I wish I had one more loop on this. And then the red one, a little bit heavier, but let me grab it so I can show it to you up close.
Yes, I have to say, Rachel is the person who told me about these bands. I purchased the red one immediately and just loved it. And I also have the green one as well. It's just
Wonderful.
And I did do a review of this on my YouTube, so of both of these, and you can see me doing some movement. So you can see Kellee and I are both 5'9". You're 5'9"
Yeah.
too, right? So we're both 5'9", and you know, we have different proportions. So the green one for me doing roll up, little too short, but this one works, and we saw
Yeah.
Kellee use it as well.
Yeah.
So we have different spaces in here, like kind of like the yoga bands that are out there. But this is a resistance band. So if you have one of the elastic ones, this is really, really great because you don't have to worry about it breaking. And if you have anything going on with your hands, like maybe one of your hands isn't working as well as the other, because I'm all about accessibility, you can actually put it around and it's easier to hold.
Yeah. And they have an awesome YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Where they show shorts. They have a great TikTok following where they show you all kinds of great ways to get stretches in. If you're doing Pilates on a regular basis, you need to be stretching on a regular basis because our bodies are tight. So this is a great way to, if you're traveling. I took mine to Kansas City with me. It's foldable, so easy to pack. You just roll it up. It takes up about the same space as a pair of socks in your luggage.
Yep, and that's the thick one. There you might see a camel band. The camel band is the equal length and heaviness of the red. Okay, what else you got? It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So the roll up, neck pull, roll over, and teaser, double leg stretch, they're all the same exercise. And honestly, your roll up and your double leg stretch, if you put those together, like part of your rollover and that together, that is your teaser. So I will also show you that one. I'll show you that because it's one of those things I was like, these are all connected. They're all connected, right? So your roll up is your teaser right here with your feet down. Okay. Your double leg stretch is your teaser legs. So if we put them together, it's all like all three of them are connected. Okay, so without a prop, the nicest way that I like to tell people to get into this one is think that you're gonna do your double leg stretch, except for put your hands back here. Okay. You're gonna pull your hands into your hamstrings as you reach your feet away. So you have to look at your feet to come into it. And then as you come down, you try and come down as slow as possible. This is what's going to build your strength for your teaser. And then eventually maybe you do this and then you try and come back. Okay, this is like, you don't need anything else except for your own body. But yeah, it's this, yeah, I mean, it's the, right? They're the same exercises. And most of them are.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And I could give you prop stuff for that as well. I find that with most people who struggle with teaser, having that it's their hands, they get that feedback of their upper body and their legs helps. Yeah. Now, are you going to pop right up into teaser? Is it going to be messy? Are you going to think, am I even doing this right? Yes.
I mean,
you just gotta keep trying.
It's very much the same thing with roll up. I have, whenever one of my students is getting challenged with the roll up, I tell them, grab your thighs. It's okay. You're coming into that grab curl. Great. Just grab those thighs. Use your body to come up. And eventually you will come up without that assistance. So use what you have and focus again, embracing on where you are today. So that, and if where you are today is grabbing the thighs to come into roll up or grabbing the thighs to come into your teaser, then that's where you are respected. Love that space, because the more you practice, you'll be moving into a different space with that movement.
And sometimes, like, I love what you said about the roll up because it reminded me of the second one. I'm just going to show it really quick. Now, for some people, this is actually harder version of teaser to get into. Maybe it won't be for you, but I'm gonna show you two versions. So if you read Return to Life, it's actually, he comes into it like this, okay? So what Kellee was saying about roll up is you can do a half roll back. And could you hold yourself here and then maybe pull the legs in and bring the legs up and come down and come forward. So there are a couple ways to use that same engagement.
Oh, sorry.
You can come here. You can come here. Hi. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
Just a reminder, all of the body movements and the body shapes are in the blog that I posted yesterday. I told Kellee, like, wow, I was smart like a month ago when I wrote this and scheduled it out. Apparently, you can read through those. I have some examples in there. If you go to my YouTube, which is Size Diverse Pilates, there are at least a couple of workouts on there that say something about like the 5 body shapes. So you can kind of do those. They're meant to be short. You can see those. There's the review for the 2-weight bands on there somewhere. So it's up to you if you want to watch it, or you can just, like, we're like, buy it. It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good. Anything else?
That's it. Follow us on the socials. I'm on Goddess Grounded on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And you can always find me, Kellee Forkenbrock, on LinkedIn. All those are linked there too. Please reach out. I love making friends and talking about movement. So yay, and books, because I'm a librarian.
And books.
Yes,
that's
and
right. She is also a romance writer. She has.
I
It's
have.
been a minute,
It's
but
been a while, but yeah, I write
you like
under
to
the
read
name.
spicy books.
Yes, if you like spicy books, you can read, just look Eliza David up on Amazon Kindle, and you can read my first book for absolutely free. So
It's fun. The Cougarette.
yes.
It's called the Cougarette. I'm just like, Kellee, come on, it's called the Cougarette.
Yes, it's called the Cougarette. That's true.
Let me just tell everybody for you. Okay, so we're planning September, October. We're gonna look at our schedules. I have teacher training that's starting in 2 weeks, so we're gonna try and do maybe another Saturday time, either this time or maybe a little bit earlier, just to catch
Sure.
some of our European peeps who could make it live then. But reach out to us if you have any
Please.
questions, okay?
This has been an awesome time. Thank you
Fun.
for attending.
Thank you so much.
both.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.